track and tennis courts in Pershing Field?
Yeah, so your councilman here, let me tell you kind of where we are now. We do have money for that track, particularly the track. And your councilman, Ward C, Boggiano, actually advocated for this a year and a half ago. Here's the challenge that we have on that right now, is that to put the $500,000 or $600,000 into renovation of a track there, that track is not regulation. And right now we have a shortage of tracks in the city of Jersey City that are of regulation to be used by our high schools and our students ultimately. And so if we're going to put that type of money into it, we were trying to figure out how to reconfigure some of the open space to keep the track up in the heights, but get it more functional in order to be able to use it for recreation and not just people kind of passively going around in a non-regulation track. I think it's kind of a responsible thing ultimately to do. So we've been toying and working to try and figure out how to reconfigure open space in Pershing Field, other potential parks on where we could put it. Some of the communities don't want it in their area. So this is a give and take. It's stalled not because of money. It should be on that list over there because we have allocated the funds to it. It's stalled because we are trying to find a solution that works so that we can maximize the use of it instead of having a track that is not functional for our school system. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
See, I mentioned that. I mentioned that to Maury one day. This is why I said that. I mentioned to Maury. I said, "Listen, I'm looking for." This is probably about 4 months ago. I said, "I'm looking for a place to put the park. To put the track. What do you think about the idea that we figure out to reconfigure Washington Park a little?" I was totally serious. He nearly had a heart attack and beat me up. So like he said, stay out. And this is the challenge I have with everything. So it's not so cut and dry on just doing the park. Yeah, we can do the track. Yes, we have the money for that, but it wouldn't be the best use of your dollars to put a track in there that couldn't be used the maximum amount of time. And that's kind of the struggle on that. Yeah, right. Yes, questions?
Yes, you've talked about New Jersey Transit. What plans are in the works for the Port Authority to accommodate the increased ridership stemming from development in not only Harrison, but Journal Square, through Grove and Newport?
Yeah, so the Port Authority tends to be not a thought leader. They tend to be very reactive. And I'm not saying that from a derogatory standpoint today. I'm just saying as a function of government. And so that knowing that we're tasked with kind of a really difficult situation, whereas I know that they're not going to be thoughtful about growth into the future and allocate money. They're very reactionary. So we tend to push them based on growth. And this is not new for what we're doing right now. It tends to be an active conversation saying we are growing at this rate and we need you to react to it and facilitate that. And for the most part, they recognize that. And despite what you may read from a political standpoint, we do have a decent relationship there, and they are reacting fairly well. It just doesn't happen overnight, but they are planning on the expanded cars. They are planning on expanding some of the platforms. It is in their budget overall. So that's where we are, and we do have active conversations about infrastructure regularly.
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to group these two together. I'll read both of these. During your campaign, you promised to run a second term as mayor, but because 4 years simply isn't enough. Now it seems you've changed and you'll be entering the governor's race. The other question is, if you don't make it for governor, you're planning to run for mayor again in 2017.
Okay, so those are two really good questions. I'm not a declared candidate for governor. I am not today actively running for governor. I look at it like this, and I'm pretty upfront. They asked me this in the Ward E meeting, and then I'll talk about this changing of elections ultimately as well, because that goes into this question, some of the political nonsense as well that goes on. So I look at it like every day, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be mayor of Jersey City. I love this job. Every single day I am thankful for the opportunity that you gave me. Don't get me wrong on that. Every day I wake up with the same exact goals. I look at my phone. This is the first thing I do when I wake up, to see if I have an email from Director Shea, if anything bad happens. And then subsequent to that, I am generally thankful that you've given me the opportunity. I think Jersey City has done a lot of good things in the last 2.5 years. Some of that I could take credit for, some of it is because of you can take credit for, and some of it is because of previous administrations can take credit for. All of the above. That said, that has allowed me or other people to use me as entering into that gubernatorial race. It is a flattering thing, ultimately. I tell you that if my career was to end as the mayor of Jersey City, I'd be happy. I'd be totally happy. I do love this job, ultimately. Do I explore it? Do I actively build relationships? Yes. I'd be lying to you if I said otherwise. I do. But at the same time, I'm not saying to you that I'm clamoring to leave, because that wouldn't be true. This will be a decision that is made ultimately in December of this year. That's kind of the time frame on it. And I couldn't tell you anything anymore than kind of what I'm thinking, what I'm thankful for, and where we're going. And I guess that hopefully you can take it as being straightforward with me on that. On the moving of the election, people politically would like to say you're moving the election to give yourself a fallback plan. Couldn't be further from the truth. How do you know that it couldn't be further from the truth? Because all you need to do is Google, and you would see that in 2010, I was the biggest proponent of moving the election from May to November. Actually sponsored legislation. You can just Google it. Now, you could say that I am some genius, some Nostradamus who could tell in 2010 that in 2016 and 17 that this would be the opportunity I had. Well, you could make that argument, and then yes, this is a big master plan that started in 2010. But in 2010, you could Google it. The track record is as clear can be. I said at that time the same exact thing I am saying right now. Number one, it saves money. Whether it's $500,000 or $700,000 or $400,000, it saves money. Number two is that it increases voter participation. There's no disputing that either. People are programmed to come out in November. It is very hard to come out in May. All these people, right, that say, hey, May election, I always believe that the challengers have a better opportunity in November. I believe that in 2010 when I was on the outside. I believe it today. Why is it? Because people are coming out in November anyway. You don't need to spend as much money, as much resources. If you want more people involved in an election with an opportunity to win, you want a November election. Because the organization, whoever that is, whether it's City Hall, whether it's the county, whoever that is, they have an advantage. They have an advantage in May. Plain and simple. It's just pure politics. So people could say, detractors, yes, you had some plan. Just Google it. Just Google it. 2010. It's clear as clear to me. I've been 100% consistent with what I've said, and I still believe that. The beauty of the situation is twofold. So we had a non-binding referendum on the ballot for last November. I said, you know what, let's test all of you. Let's do it the democratic way. Let's test what people want to say, even though I've been an advocate for this for 6 years, okay? So let's do it the right way. And even though I said in my platform in 2013 when I ran for office, before even becoming mayor, I said I would do this. I was very clear on that too. So I said, let's have a democratic process. In November of this year, it passed. Miraculously, the voters in Jersey City, the majority of voters in Jersey City said this is a good thing. What did my detractors say? They said, not enough people voted. Okay, well that's my fault, right? Okay, so that's fine. So we're going to put it back out for a ballot question in November again, this November. Then you'll have the opportunity to vote for it again. The reason I share all that with you is that you would be hard-pressed to argue it's some grand Machiavellian plan ultimately. This city council and I have tried to do it right by you, consistently with you, since 2010, 2013, 2015, another shot in 2016. I don't know anymore what I can do to reinforce the fact that we are actively doing it for the right reasons. Okay? Thank you.
Are there plans to add more bike lanes in conjunction with adding more city bikes?
Yes to both. We'll be working with JC Bikes this spring on expanding the locations. If you have a suggestion on the locations, we'll be working with them. Or if you want additional bike lanes in your area, we'll be doing that as well. So yes, it is a priority for us.
Now, Kern's been working for years. Honestly, he's a little bit upset that he hasn't had a chance to ask you a question, so I'll turn it over to him.
I have to paraphrase this question because it's an important one, but it's very long, so I just want to concisely get to it. It's concerning the communications as respecting to zoning meetings, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart because I attend most of those zoning meetings. When I say zoning meetings, I mean zoning board hearings that are down at City Hall. One of the issues that we've had, a direct action item from this meeting should be the website has not been updated in months, and I've had no luck in getting, even though I've called everyone I can think of calling and the people directly responsible. The website needs to be updated. It's critical that the community here has the information on zoning board hearings and variances that affect potentially properties that are right next to them. So that's critical, and this was echoed in this question here, so I think that's very important. And the last thing someone wants to see is wake up and realize that something was granted and they had no idea. So we're on it. The WPA RNA will get that out as well, but it's important to address that, please.
So we will address that. I wrote it down. I actually went for a zoning change on my house in Ogden. And I know Kern is at every meeting because he was there, and to make sure everything was done by the book properly. And I think it was, right, Kern? You didn't object. All right, thanks. All right. Yes, one more question, maybe? All right, I think you have it. Go ahead.
I have lots of questions. You could stay here all night if you like. Please comment on your administration's plans and partnerships with schools, health, and environment to achieve no hungry child in any part of Jersey City. And sustainable mechanisms to help reduce household poverty so we don't have 1 in 5 children living in poverty. That's from Jim Nelson, the sheriff.
Of course, it's from Jim.
So I mentioned a little bit earlier today that we kicked off a Hunger Free JC campaign, and that was in November. And the idea behind that is to, one, kind of educate a lot of the local nonprofits that are not engaged in hunger fighting programs that can leverage federal dollars and look at some of the federal monies like the Farm Bill or the Child Nutrition Reauthorization in a new way. This past week, Child Nutrition Reauthorization is in committee, and they're looking at some of these things that affect children every day. And so we've started sort of engaging with local nonprofits that are interested in sort of equaling the playing ground, providing additional food for kids. We partnered with the Lily Pearl Foundation in the 21st Century with our child and adult care food program that we received last year to get more kids fed after-school programs. In after-school programs and any other after-school program that's not a school can also come and join us. In addition to that, we're looking at better ways to provide additional food and funding for homeless shelters and when people go out into the field, and we've got a lot of great partners in the room. In addition to that, we're seeking to add in the Heights an additional, or in Ward C in general, an additional senior nutrition site to round out our senior nutrition to 10 locations, and we've been working very closely with the county on that, and we've been readjusting our budget to align that, and so we're submitting that this week to the county. In addition to that, we've been looking at the structure of Meals on Wheels. We currently serve about 750 individuals across the city, and about 400 of them get 7 meals a week instead of 5 meals a week, and that's because of additional HUD funding, CSBG money. So we're looking at how we can sort of couple together all of the different drawdowns from the federal government, partner with the local dollars, and then engage with the nonprofits that need our help to do that better. So that's what we're doing at HHS.
One other thing before I take away my takeaway on this, and I should mention this earlier. I do want to gauge some input on a lesson from this last snowstorm, and from our chief of police, and ultimately a working group would need to be involved in this. One of the things that we did see in this past storm is that on the western slope, a lot of those streets that are two-way streets probably should not be two-way streets, okay? And we would like to put together a working group and hire some professional traffic planners to figure out what is the optimum use of those streets in order to better facilitate snow plowing, street cleaning, all of the above, ultimately. And so it was on my list. I should have said it to you earlier, but I would like, ultimately, I will be reaching out to the community groups here, but I definitely, obviously want you all to be involved in this because it would be a significant change, but I think ultimately it would be for the better of the Heights entirely, ultimately. So it is something on my radar screen. I just wanted to put that out there today, okay? If you're interested in that, please reach out to your respective community group for when I follow up with them, that they could get me some of the information on who wants to be involved, and we'll go from there, okay? So, before you go, my takeaways that I will follow up with them on is in the spring, additional bike routes and locations for JC Bikes, or the bike share. In a week, we will have the buses that Kern and I will be working on, and we will send out an update on what came of that meeting ultimately. We will set up a follow-up on the park master plan and updating that in order to make sure that we are back in line best we can, or whatever changes need to happen on that. Those of you who want to be involved in the conversation with our planner about updating the master plan, jumping onto some of the conversations from downtown that they were having, I will loop you guys into that conversation. That started from last meeting as well. The trash cans seems to be a big one. We will start, which I will actively be engaged in, a working group putting together a better plan solely on trash collection. I will work with you in order to facilitate that. That works. And then the planning website, updating the planning website, which should be an easier one in order to better communicate the things that are happening. So I think that pretty much sums it up. And those are my takeaways. I will follow up with all of them. And then on behalf of all of us here, I just want to say one additional welcome. The woman who came in late over here, colorful as always, is our fearless councilman at large, Joyce Waterman. What I said earlier, I mean, it has been a privilege the 2.5 years. I don't take the responsibility lightly. Like I said, I do wake up every day thankful for the opportunity you gave me. I tell the community groups, and I tell anybody who will listen, we try very hard to make you guys proud, of living in Jersey City and the functioning of your government. I'll be the first to say that we don't always succeed, but we always are trying, and I think more often than not, we are moving the ball down the field. So, our door in City Hall is always open, and my office is always open, and my email is very accessible. I think a lot of people in this room have it. If you don't have it, it's easy to get it. If you didn't want to say something publicly here, and we'll answer those questions or help facilitate any of that. And again, thank you for believing in Jersey, believing in our team, and we're going to work together to make the Heights even a better neighborhood than what it is. Thank you.
So everyone, just 1 second if you could. We just wanted time. Thank you very much for coming out. There was a lot of questions that didn't get that we have that didn't get actually asked. There were some that were very specific to departments. What we will do is we will write them up and we will submit them to the departments, and then we will post the responses on the WPA and RNA website. So if you don't worry, they're not being forgotten. We're going to direct them to the specific departments. Thank you.